Morning, Miss.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Catzim. Good morning, Miss Christy.
Morning, Valeria.
Morning, Miss Catzim. Morning, Miss Christy.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, Miss.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss.
Good morning. Good morning, class. It's already 8 a.m. We need to start our class. You should be excited. This is our second to last class for cycle 1. Um, I noticed many of you had a little issue on the activity that I did yesterday. So we will start with that today just to recap a little bit on what we did. Okay. So remember your basic rules. Please be on time. Be prepared. Turn on your cameras. Mute your microphone. You need some confidence to share. Um, Raise your hand to talk. I forgot to include that one. And no eating. You could always eat before or after our class session. So I give you some numbers. Those numbers are not the same in this occasion, but I give you some numbers and you were to tell me the the number it was before rounding off, right? So I have in number one, 35.1. I just want to hear one person to give me a number that it was before rounding off, before the answer stayed as 35.1, and I will briefly explain how did that happen. Just one person to tell me for number one, just a number. This could be many numbers, but I just want one number. One number.
35.10.
Could you repeat, please?
35.10 or any kind of number less than
35.10 or any number less than 5, someone say it, right? I will explain why this is so. Just a moment. I will fill it in so that you could understand How do we get this, right? So what we are doing here, we are doing the opposite of what we did yesterday, right? As we rounded up, but now we don't want to round off. We want to find the number that we had. So how do we know which numbers could be that? First, we need to remember our rules, which are if a number, if the digit after the number we are rounding up, so we know that here we just rounded off to one decimal place. Why? Can anyone tell me why we know that in 35.1 we rounded to one decimal place? Anyone has an idea why we rounded off to one decimal place? How can we know that we rounded to one decimal place? No one remembers? I will say it once more. We know that we are asked to. Very good, Ernest, because the result is just one decimal place. So when you are asked to round to one decimal place, your answer, sorry, should have only one decimal place there. If you are asked to round to two decimal places, your result there will be two numbers, right? After the decimal place and so on. So that is the first thing you need to know, that we rounded to one decimal place here. Now, we know that if we rounded off, we could have rounded off the second I'm sorry, the vertical bar should have been between the one and a number, right? So that number after the vertical bar could have been 0 to 4, and the one would have stayed the same, right? If the number after the vertical bar, let's see, if I put my vertical bar here, we know that the number that will be after the vertical bar should have been 0 to 4 for our answer to stay the same, for our one to stay the same, right? Are you following? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yes, miss.
Yeah, miss.
Okay. So that is how we could get these numbers. Why? Because we know that the numbers that will come after the vertical bar has to be 0 to 4 so that we stay with the one. Now, we could also have numbers like and somebody tell me why I could have these numbers. Anyone has an idea
Miss,
why? Yes?
because when you place your bar, miss, you see your right number, and your right number is greater than 5, so you will add 1 to the
Very
0.
good. Very good. If we place our vertical bar here, then we know that we are looking at the number after the vertical bar. So because the number is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it is bigger than 5, right? It is, bigger than 4, or 5 to 9, then we know that we need to add 1 to the previous number. So our result for all of these numbers here will be 35.1, and the result for all these numbers here will be 35.1 also. So that is how we go about doing this activity. Okay, good observation, Alan. So we are not rounding off this number. We are finding which number we had before rounding off, right? That is what we need. We need to learn how to get the answer, but also how to revert, how to go a little bit backward, right? So that is the how we go by finding these numbers. So if you have you still have some questions with that, you could work with 97.56, and that will reinforce you a little bit. So now, anyone knows what significant figure means? Just give me your ideas, and I will write here, and then we come up with a definition. What does significant figure mean to you? You could define significant, you could define figure. What does that mean to you? What does significant figure mean to you? Anyone has an idea? Let me hear what you think. Just a little idea that you might have. As I mentioned, you don't have to um, assert. You don't have to give the exact definition. We just need a little thing to start working with. What do you think significant figures mean? Just to break it up, what do you think significant means? Is Harry thinks is the number after the decimal one, the digit of a number that are meaningful? Cheers, Yuri, good. Anyone wants to give it a try? What do you think significant or significant figures mean? You can start by defining significant. What is significant for you? What do you think about when you hear significant? That's a that's a difficult question for you. Yes, is someone? Okay. Your colleague Yuri got this right? Accuracy, very good. So in significant figures, we are significant figures are the digits of a number that are meaningful in terms of accuracy or precision. Are all numbers that add to the meaning of the overall value of the number. So it is meaningful. It it adds value to the overall number. So that is what significant figure means, right? So why am I telling you this? Because today we will be rounding off two significant figures. We have done two multiples or products of 10, decimal places, and now significant figures. So you don't have to be correct for this activity, but what do you think is the first significant figure in the number 0.007? What do you think is the first and second significant figure of the number 0.07? Just give me your thoughts, and then we will go over some of these things, right? Yuri says 0, Ryan says 7. So just write maybe first, write your 1, and then you give me the significant figure, the first significant figure, and write a little 2, your dash, and the second significant figure that you thought of. Zero. Yuri, do you think zero is the first significant figure or a second significant figure? Isari says one. Who wants to give it a try? Remember, I'm just asking. I'm not telling you it's correct or wrong. When you share your little thoughts, then we will go to the next slide and I will explain a little bit more. Number 5 says Ryan. That is for 751. 751. 7 says Yuri. Okay. Okay, I have seen some of you shared. As I told you, you don't have to share correctly. I am just trying to see if you are a little bit ahead. But what does significant figure mean? Remember, it adds value to the whole number. So we have a number here, 1508.06, right? We see that 1 is the first significant figure, 5 is the second significant figure, 0 is the third significant figure, 8 is the fourth significant figure. Then we have the next 0 after the decimal, it's fifth significant figure, and we have 6 being the sixth significant figure. So now, in the example to the bottom, we notice that we start counting a significant figure after the zeros, right? So we have a little notice to the bottom. The zeros are not significant when they are at the beginning of the number. So in 0.01704, the zeros way to the beginning are not significant, but the zeros in between, like we have in the first example, we have 1508. The 0 there is significant, and the 0 after the decimal place is also significant, right? Because it's in between, right? If it is at the beginning, it is not a significant figure. So in 0.01704, we start counting our significant figures in the non-zero digit, right? Which is 1. So we start counting from there. Do you have any questions with this?
No, miss.
No, miss.
Okay. So if we go back to this one, what will be your first significant figure in 0.007?
7, miss.
7, right? Very good. And we don't have a second significant figure there, right? So in the example 751, what is our first significant figure?
7.
7, right? We start counting from left to right. Please remember that we start counting from left to right. So our significant figures are counted from left to right. Please remember that. So rounding to significant figures, the method of rounding to a significant figure is often used as it can be applied to any kind of number regardless of how big or small the number is. So in significant figures, you could round off to significant figures any number. It doesn't matter the size of the number. If it is a big number, if it is a small number, it really doesn't matter. So when a newspaper reports a lottery winner has won 3 million euros, this has been rounded to one significant figure, right? So it rounds off to the most important figure in the number. So to round off to significant figures, we follow the same steps. We look at the first non-zero digit if rounding to one significant figure. So if we are rounding to one significant figure, we start looking from left to right, right? We start from left, counting our significant figures, 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's a big number, if it's a small number, we start counting from the it's from left to right. Sorry, we start counting from left to right. So we have to look at the non-zero digit. right? Remember, if we have zeros to the front, it doesn't count. Those are not significant figures. We have to start counting from where the zero stop, the number after, we count if we are asked to one significant figure. So we are to look at the digit after the first non-zero digit if rounding to two significant figures. So if we are looking, we know that we have our first non-zero digit, right? If we are asked to round to two significant figures, then we are looking to the number after that one, right? So it's your second significant figure. You just be counting there. So what we do next is we draw a vertical line. Remember? Remember that is one of our key steps. We draw our vertical line after the place value digit that it is required. So, sorry for this. So we look at the next digit. So we look at the digit after the vertical bar, right? And what do we do? Anyone remembers the basic steps? What do we do if we are looking at the digit after our vertical bar? Hello, class. I'm talking to you. What do we do when we put our vertical bar and we have to look at the number after? What happens there?
If the number is 4 lower, we're going to turn it to 0. But if the number is higher than 5, up to 10 or 9, let's say, we have to turn it into 0 too, but we have to add 1 to the next number.
Okay, good. Good, right? Some of you are also sharing in the chat box. Very good. So what do we do is we look at the number. If the number is 4 or less, we do not change to 0, Alan. We keep the same value, right? We keep the same value. But if the number is 5 or more, we add 1 to the previous number, right? And what happens after we do that? After the vertical bar, we just fill any spaces to the right of the line with zeros, stopping at the decimal point if there is one, right? So if there is a decimal point, you stop filling with zeros at the decimal point and leave the rest. So examples: round 53,879 to one significant figure, then two significant figures. So what number here is our first significant figure? 5, right? Very good. It's 5. So what number will we look at? Where we'll put our vertical bar?
Between the 5 and 3, Miss.
Very good. Our vertical bar goes between the 5 and the 3. So we are now taking a look at the 3. What will happen with the 5 if we have a 3 there? What will happen to the 5 if the number after is 3? Jiro says Yuri. Who else wants to give it a try? What will happen to the 5? I heard someone. Could you repeat? Come on, have you forgotten all what we covered yesterday and the day before? What happens if the number after the vertical bar is 3? All right, good, Ryan. The number before or the previous number will be kept the same, and then what we do to the rest is just we fill out with zeros, right? So because the 3 is a number found if 4 or less, then we know that we have to keep the 5 the same. So we fill out the rest with zeros. So to two significant figures, which number So we see is the second significant figure there?
3.
3, very good. It's 3, right? So we have to take a look at the 8, right? Because we know we put our vertical bar. Very good, Yuri. We put our vertical bar in between the 3 and the 8. So we're taking a look at the 8. Because the number there is a 8, what happens to the 3 before?
It is less, Miss. You add 1.
Very good, right? We add 1 to the 3. So it converts to a 5, 4, and then we just fill out the rest with zeros, right? I'm sorry. So notice that the number of significant figures in the question is the maximum number of non-zero digits in your answer, right? So if you are asked to one significant figure, you know that you have to have one number that is not a zero. If you're asked to two significant figures, you have to have two numbers that are not zero. And the same thing applies for the rest, right? So if we are rounding off this number to one significant figure, what is the first significant figure in that number? 0.005089. Very good. It is 5, right? We know it is 5 because we do not count the zeros before. So we put our vertical bar in between the 5 and the 0. So since this number is 0, what happens to the 5?
It remains the same.
Very
And
good.
the zero.
It remains the same, right? And we just fill out the rest with zeros, but in this case, we don't need them. Why? Because in decimals, the zeros to the back are not important. However, don't do that with the numbers. Like for example, the ones that we just did here. Do not remove those zeros and keep the 5 because you are changing the whole number, right? So in decimals, if we have zeros to the back, it doesn't matter, right? But in whole numbers, natural numbers, we need to keep the zeros, right? So our answer stays as 0.005. Remember, we need to have just one significant figure here. So if we are to round off to two significant figures, what is our second significant figure? Will it be 0 or 8? Will our second significant figure be 0 or 8? 0, right? Because when 0 is in between the numbers there, then it is counted as a significant figure, right? Just the zeros at the beginning are not. So if we are to round off to two significant figures, we put our vertical bar in between the 0 and the 8. We take a look at the 8. Is the 8 5 or more? Yes, it is. So we need to add 1, right? To the previous 0. So we stay with 0.0051. Do you have any questions?
No, miss.
No? Okay, I hope so. Now we'll do this one together. Round 134 to one significant figure and then to two significant figure. So what is our first significant figure here?
1.
1. Very good. 1. So where we will put our vertical bar?
Between the 1 and the 3.
Very good. In between the 1 and the 3, right? So what happens to the 1? Do we keep it or do we need to add 1?
Stays the same.
Very good. It
Stays the
is the same, right? So we have and what happens to the rest? What happens to the rest after the vertical bar? What happens to the numbers there?
Stays the same.
One at a time, please. Someone say something and then we hear the next person, right? Valeria, could you mute your mic? I think it's you. Okay, thank you. So, can someone share again? I didn't get what you said. What will happen to the number after to the numbers after the vertical bars? Hello, what happens to the number after to the numbers found after the vertical bar? What do we do to them?
Miss, you will replace them as with zero, miss.
Very good, right? We replace them with zeros, and that is our answer to one significant figure. Now, if we want to do for two significant figures, where our vertical bar will be?
Between 3 and 4.
Very good, right? Between 3 and 4. So, what will happen to the 3?
Stay as 3.
It will stay the same. And what happens to the rest of the numbers? Very good,
Becomes
Yuri.
0.
Becomes very
Zero.
good, and Emerson. It becomes 0, right? So that is how we go about rounding off to one significant figure and to two significant figures. So most of the time you will be told to which ones you will, to which significant figure you should round up. So we have our next example there, 0.0851. What is our first significant figure here?
8.
8, right? Very good, very good. The first significant figure is 8. So where our vertical bar will be?
Between the 5 and the 8.
Between the 5 and the 8, or the 8 and the 5, right? 5, 1. So now what happens to the 8?
Stays the same.
Remember the number that we have
You will
after,
add 1,
it's a
miss.
5, right? Very good. We need to add 1, so we stay with 0.09. Do we need to add zeros to the end? No, right? It is understood. We don't have to write them there. So if we are to round off to two significant figures, what is our second significant figure in this case?
5, miss.
5, Miss.
5, right? So our vertical bar will be where?
Between 5 and 1.
Between the 5 and the 1. So we know that we have 1 there. So what happens? Very good, very good. You guys know where your vertical bar is, right? So what happens to that 5 there?
Remain the same.
Very good. It stays the same. It remains the same. It just doesn't change, right? And that is it for this question. Now, the last one that we'll do together. Round 82,642 to one significant figure and to two significant figures. Also, keep in mind that you could also be asked to three significant figures, four significant figures, and you just follow the same step. Sorry. So what number will we look at here? Very good, Yuri. Very good, Kevin. Very good, Isari. Yes, we will look at the 8. So we have to put our vertical bar in between the 8 and the 2, right? So what happens to the 8? Does it change, or does it is kept the same? Is it, Yuri says at 1, Ryan
It
says the
remains the
same.
same.
Ryan says the same, says the same. It stays the same, right? Because the number after, which is a 2, is a number 4 or less. So it doesn't change. The number doesn't change. So what happens after the vertical bar? What do we do to the numbers? Very
Zero.
good, Emerson. We just fill them out with zeros. So if we are to round this to two significant figures, which number am I looking at? Where my vertical bar will be? Very good. For those of you that are sharing in the chat box, very good. So we have 8 to a vertical, I'm sorry, vertical bar 642. And we take a look at 6. What happens to the 2 because of the 6?
You add 1, Miss.
Very good, right? We need to add 1. So we stay with 3. And then what happens to the rest of that question? We just
Miss.
add zeros, right? Very good. Very, very good. So do you have any questions with this one?
No, Miss.
No, Miss.
No, Miss.
No, Miss.
Okay, I hope you are really understanding this one. Please remember, the zeros do not count if they are in the beginning, right? So now it's your turn to do your rounding off to significant figures. Just let me look at the slide here. Okay. So you are to solve in your notebook just 2 questions. I'll give you, let's see, 2 to 3 minutes. I think that is more than enough time, and then you share your responses. So we have number 1 is 402 to one significant figure, and then we have 0.578 to two significant figures. Let's do that on your own, and then we share your responses. If you are having some issues, remember you could always ask. Finish is you're good. We'll just wait a little while on the others, right? We'll just wait like 2 minutes for the others to finish up. Okay, good. I hope that you did it correct for the ones that are done. Please.
Finish, Miss.
Okay. We'll just wait a little while for your colleagues to finish, right? Don't say it's Krista. Just one more minute and we will start sharing our answers, right? Okay, so share your answers for number 1. Just number 1. Just number 1. Share your results in the chat box. We take a look and then we take a look for number 2. Your answer, Yuri, not your steps, but good that you know your steps, right? Just the answer I want to take a look at if you are following the correct. 400, 400. Okay, many of you have 400. Some of you have 4.0. Ryan, we don't have a decimal place there. Okay, very good. Most of you got to one significant figure, right? Okay, 400 is the correct answer. Why? Our vertical bar should be in between the 4 and the 0 because the 0 is a number less than 5. Then we keep the 4 the same and we just fill out with 0. Now for number 2, share your answers for number 2. 0.580, 0.580. Remember, Ryan, it's to two significant figures. So the second significant figure there is 7. So our vertical bar goes in between the 7 and the 8, right? So we are taking a look at the 8. 8 is a number bigger than 5. Bigger than 4. So we have to add 1 to the 7. So our answer should be 0.58. Very good for those of you who got it. So Ryan, remember, so the second significant figure, we were to round off to, not the first significant figure, but good job, right? And even if it was to the first significant figure, then you have a next result there. So for our final activity for today's class, I have a pretty interesting thing for you to do. I just want just three students, to present 3 key ideas you think everyone should have learned today. Anything that you think your colleagues should have learned, I want to hear 3 of you. Any 3 ideas. 3 ideas you think everyone should have learned. Any 3 students that want to volunteer, I will hear you. Maybe what you learned, you think everyone should have learned. So 3 key ideas you think everyone should have learned. You just have exactly, you see it, how to round off. Edwin sees how to round off to significant figures.
Miss,
Yes, Ernest?
to know when you will put zeros at the end or when you will not put zeros.
Very good. Very good. Anybody else? 3 key ideas. You are all sharing the same idea. How to round off significant figures. That is the same idea now. What other thing you should have learned in today's class? Something that you learned that you think others should have learned. Anyone has a next key idea of things that everyone should have learned? How to add 1 to big numbers is Yuri? Good. I'm sorry about the noise here about the dogs. But any other key idea that you think everyone should have learned? Remember, we have some key things. When zero is in the beginning, it is not a significant figure. Very good, Esvin. That is a key idea that everyone should have learned in this class. Why? When zero is at the beginning, it is not a significant figure, right? When we have zeros at the beginning, it is not a significant figure. Any other thing you think your colleagues should have known? When adding zeros, you stop at the... What you meant, Kevin? Will we stop at the... Oh, you mean at the decimal place, right? If we have a big number and we have a decimal place, yes, we stop filling out with zeros before the decimal place. So we stop there at the decimal place. We did not keep doing so after the decimal place. So that's a very good idea that you all should have learned. Let me see. Anybody else has a key idea? You learned many things today. What is the next key idea that you can think of? No more key ideas? Remember, the key ideas could have been something that we learned from the previous classes before, like putting your vertical bar, counting the significant figures, how to find the significant numbers. Very good, right? So these are little things or key things that everyone should have learned today. How to round off, identifying that if we have zeros in the beginning of a number, it does not count as a significant figure. Where to stop filling out with zeros. What else someone shared here? Let's see. How to find significant figures. So that is basically what you should have learned today. So that is the end of our class. Hope to see you tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow is our last session for this cycle, right? So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. Eat. If you haven't had breakfast, go have your breakfast so that you feel energetic for your next class, right? So that is it for today, guys. Take care.
Bye, Miss. Have a
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
Miss.
Miss.
bye, Miss.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye, Miss Catzim. Bye,
Goodbye.
Miss Christy.
Bye, Miss.
Bye, Miss Catzim. Bye, Miss Christy.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye, Miss Katsum. Bye, Miss Mai.
Goodbye.
Bye, Miss Christy. Bye, Miss Catzim.
Goodbye, Ernest. Goodbye, Brian, was it? Chicken. Goodbye. Goodbye, Pascual. Thank you, Alan. Goodbye. My lesson plan, right? Yes, I will just post it right now. What happened is that my computer started tripping and I had to take it to my friend to fix it. So it came out late. So I just pick it up today in the morning, and I briefly did a PowerPoint. So I was very frustrated, but right now I will post it. I'm so sorry for not informing you about that too. Yeah. 3. It was 3. Okay. 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 That, yeah. Mm, okay. 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 Thank you. No, miss, that was it. That was it. Yeah. And thank you so much. And I will post my lessons just right now.